Welcome to the podcast, The Whimsical Rant. Each episode, I will rant about a wide range of topics. I like to rant. Ranting's good. I'm David Hamley, aka Hammetime. I'm a stand-up comedian from Melbourne, and I run a headliner comedy room. I'm not famous, but my contacts list is, and I love to drop names like my co-host, KB.
Nice segue, Hammetime. I am KB, but you can call me Casey Boy. I'm a recently retired veteran of the airline industry. Now I live vicariously through the exploits of others like Hammetime. I've known the great man for over 50 years, 50 very long years. He's an excellent public speaker, singer, actor and comedian, as well as being an all-round great guy. Hope I haven't missed anything, Hammetime. I was having a bit of trouble reading your writing. Anyway, happy days. Let the rant begin.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Whimsical Rant. We're going to start with an exciting new segment, KB, the motivational guru. Casey Boy has some brilliant ideas on how to remain positive during the prolonged lockdown. Starting today with some ingenious exercise tips. Fire away, KB.
Well, Hammetime, it's important to remain active during the pandemic, so I recommend riding a bike.
Wow, that's groundbreaking advice, KB. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Now, just out of interest, how many times have you ridden your bike since lockdown in mid-March?
Well, just the once, Hammetime. 2 months ago, this guy parked his car in front of the storage locker where I keep my bike. I couldn't be bothered asking to move it, and I haven't been back since.
Thanks, KB. You really are an inspiration to us all. Let us sing. You're the meaning in our lives. You're the inspiration. You bring feeling to our lives. You're the inspiration. Thanks, Chicago, and thanks again, KB.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
This will be a fairly short segment, KB. We don't have any. Next. It's time for Joke of the Day. In our last podcast, we were singing the praises of the Andrews government's handling of the pandemic in Victoria. Now, not so much. In the past few weeks, the virus has got out its surfboard and is riding a much bigger second wave of infections. But despite the much publicised mismanagement of the quarantine hotels and the other controversies currently dogging the Victorian Labor Party, Dan the man has retained his sparkling wit. Last week, he saw his neighbour gardening. His neighbour had some branches neatly piled on top of each other. So Dan said, "Hey neighbour, that's what I call branch stacking. Boom, boom!" Brilliant self-depreciating stuff from the Premier. And I love his use of the boom. Like me, he was obviously a big fan of Basil Brush, the mischievous fox. And if you haven't heard of Basil Brush, ladies and gentlemen, you can Google him on the World Wide Web, where you'll find him saying, boom, boom! Now let's wallow once again in nostalgia with memories. Memories, like the corners of my mind. Misty watercoloured memories of the way we were. KB, I reckon I sang that introduction even better than the last episode, if that's humanly possible.
You really do have tickets on yourself, Hammetime.
And they're selling like hotcakes, KB. Anyway, let's go back to Feb 2004. We went to see eccentric Canadian singer Jewel at Rochford Winery in the Yarra Valley. She's an excellent performer, but she has this annoying habit of telling long stories in between songs. There was a drunk guy sitting near us. He was getting more and more agitated with each story she told. Then he completely lost it when Jewel said, "Would you like to hear another story?" He stood up and screamed, "Shut the bleep up and just bleeping sing." Jewel's response was priceless. "I guess that's a no then." And she didn't tell another story for the rest of the concert. That was quite a night, wasn't it, KB?
I'll take your word for it, Hammetime. Once again, I wasn't there. I've got a great idea. How about reminiscing about a concert which I actually attended?
Okay, how about the Billy Idol concert at Festival Hall in August 1987?
Now you're talking, Hammetime. I was definitely at that one.
You were indeed, KB. I have some vivid recollections about that concert. First, it was ear-splittingly loud. My ears were ringing for days, and not once did they leave a message. How rude. And our view was obscured for most of the concert by a couple pashing in the seats in front of us. Remember that, KB?
Yeah, the girl was really attractive. And the bloke wasn't too bad either.
I think you enjoyed their kissing more than the concert. Did you get a good look, Costanza?
I did indeed, Hammetime.
And then straight after the concert, Billy Idol lost the plot and took a taxi to the airport. He was attempting to fly home without his passport, bump bow, without his ticket, bump bow, and without any luggage, bump bow. Security got in touch with Billy's management and they took him back to his hotel. What a silly Billy, KB. A silly, silly Billy. But this segment's not silly. It's brilliant. And speaking of brilliant, it's time for the sports report. AFL footy's been back for 4 weeks now. Fortunately, all the Victorian clubs got out of the state before the closure of the New South Wales-Victorian border. This means I'll continue to get my weekly footy fix during the never-ending pandemic. The product may be greatly diminished in terms of spectacle and scoring, but who cares? Because my team, St Kilda, was 4th on the ladder after round 5. Oh, when the Saints go marching in. Oh, when the Saints go marching in. Who said this podcast was self-indulgent? Sing with me, KB.
How I want to be with St Kilda.
On second thoughts, don't. And you wonder why I don't let you sing. Fast forward to round 6, and St Kilda was 36 points ahead of Fremantle at quarter time. The game was as good as over. I thought, come on, Bobby, let's go party and celebrate great wins. Come on. It's a celebration. But the celebration was premature, ladies and gentlemen, because we lost. Fremantle had the biggest comeback in the club's history, and I thought, it's my party and I'll cry if I want to, cry if I want to, cry if I want to. You would cry too if you barracked for St Kilda. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the proud tradition of misery and disappointment continues at St Kilda Football Club. In 123 years of existence, they have won 1 premiership and have finished bottom 27 times. In 2009, they won the first 19 games of the season and they still couldn't win the premiership. My grandfather encouraged me to barrack for St Kilda. All I can say is, thanks, Grandad. Anyway, back to this season. The first game after resumption was an absolute shocker between Richmond and Collingwood. It was the lowest scoring game in 20 years. And we had the usual inane Channel 7 commentary. Brian B.T. Taylor was so bored, he became obsessed with the number of tattooed peroxide blondes playing for Collingwood. And so did I. There were 4. I counted. Fast forward to round 5, we had this classic commentary from BT after Clayton Oliver from Melbourne turned over the ball, resulting in a Richmond goal. Goodness gracious me. Boy, oh boy. Wow-wee. Good old BT. He does enjoy labouring the point. No one could ever accuse him of thinking less is more. There is, however, one significant improvement in the Channel 7 coverage. No more roaming Brian. That's right. BT can no longer freak out the players in the dressing rooms after the game. Social distancing could mean, thankfully, that his roaming days are over, KB. And don't get me started on the Channel 7 advertisements. On second thoughts, you can get me started. Unfortunately, one of the broadcast sponsors is Amy. They've been guilty of heinous crimes against advertising for years. Let's face it, Amy haven't had a good idea since Rhonda and Katut way back in 2012. Who can forget?
You look so hot today, like a sunrise.
What a brilliant impersonation of Katut by KB. It's almost like he's in the studio with us. Except we don't have a studio. But I digress. Have you seen Amy's latest incredibly annoying commercial, KB?
Can't say I have, Hammetime.
It features the world's fastest phone texter competing with the world's fastest phone talker to make the quickest claim. Not only does the commercial include the ridiculous phrase, easy peasy lemon squeezy, even though I do quite enjoy saying that, but it's also totally unrealistic. The contest is called a draw. There's no way that girl could text as fast as the guy could talk. The decision should have been referred to the third umpire. Lucky you with Amy? I think not. Ring the siren, KB. Now it's time for KB Has a Whinge. What have you got for us, KB?
Well, I was watching 60 Minutes last week.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention, KB. Watching 60 Minutes is a cry for help. I hope you get the assistance you so desperately need.
I haven't finished Hammetime. I was watching 60 Minutes and the ads were twice as loud as the show. It was bloody annoying.
I can imagine, KB. Pity you're not a fish. You could have turned down your hearing aids. Ha ha! Good one, Hammetime! And now it's time for my favourite segment, the Hammetime Sing-Along. And the song for this episode is Absolute Beauty. It's about former PM Tony Abbott. He was made a Companion of the Order of Australia in the Queen's Birthday Honours. This inspired a reworking of the David Bowie classic Heroes. It's called I Was a Hero.
I like to swim like dolphins can swim. Budgie snugglers, they keep me together, and I can save them forever and ever. I was a hero just for one day. I love all kings, and I love all queens. Though nothing will drive the monarchs away, I knighted Prince Philip on one special day. It was a captain's pick just for one day. I can remember. I remember eating onion by a wall, and threatening to shut front Putin, and refusing a same-sex conscience call. But the shade was on the Labour side, and I could beat them forever and ever. But I couldn't beat Malcolm just for one day. I was a hero. Alan Jones loved me. I was a hero. Sky News loved me. I was a hero. Peter loved me just for one day. I was a hero. I'm nothing, and nothing will help me. The folk from Warringah thought I'd better not stay. With Zali they would be safer on that election day. I was a hero just for one day.
That was Hammetime on lead vocals and lyrics. David T-Bone Barnett on guitar and backing vocals, and David KB Casey Boy DKS Deeks on nicknames and back announcements.
We hope you enjoyed the third episode of the Whimsical Rant. We look forward to your listening company for episode 4 real soon. P.S. Make sure you subscribe so we can feel the love, baby.